What's up, everybody? This is Brent with the Dog Trainers Podcast, and we keep getting asked this question. I want to be a dog trainer, but I have no clue where to start. Well, in this episode, we're going to go over how we did it, and maybe that's going to be some really useful advice for you guys. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Dog Trainers Podcast, a podcast created by dog trainers, for dog trainers, or anyone who's ever fallen in love with man's best friend. Episode 2 is all about how to become a dog trainer.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Dog Trainers Podcast. My name is Mariano, and I am the owner and trainer of Untamed Dog Training.
Yeah, what's up, guys? My name is Brent LaBrada, and I'm the owner of Canis Behavior and Training out here in LA. And we get asked this question a bunch. Now, mind you, we both started dog training when we were really young, so we can relate to this question like crazy. I started when I was about 18 years old, and I had no clue where to start as a dog trainer. All I knew is I just wanted to be one. And we get calls all the time from people who are interested, passionate. Here's the funny thing. They're not just young. I have 50-year-olds who want to change their profession. I have people who've loved animals their whole life, but they decided to get that 9-to-5 job or become a marketing manager or become a lawyer, and they're just done. They're done with that industry, and they want to be and work with animals. So it's kind of a interesting question, because I think every dog trainer has a little bit of a different origin story. Well, all we can do is share with you guys what our story was, give you guys some different stories that we know from other people, and we can go from there. But you're going to see some commonalities in these stories. So, Mariano, tell me a little bit about how you started in dog training.
Oh man, years ago. You know, the funny thing about the way that I started in dog training is it was very much on accident. You know, I first kind of was introduced to dog training, you know, in San Antonio at Lackland Air Force Base. And I was training as military police, and I was spending some time at the kennels. There's kennels at that base, because not every base has them. And it was so different, mind you. We're talking, you know, like working dog training. It's nothing like what most people think of when they think of dog training, but
like pet dog training.
Yeah.
Working dog.
Yeah, and these dogs were some hard-charging, serious dogs, right? So at the time, I didn't know anything, and I was just amazed. I've loved dogs, but it was just, you know, so intriguing. And then, you know, you fast forward a few years, and I meet you in LA, and I start to work for a kennel in West LA, and I was just there as kennel staff. I didn't, you know, I had no intention of applying or getting hired or anything like that as a trainer, but you were the head trainer at the time. And I learned a lot of things just, you know, before any sort of apprenticeship, just working at the kennels, you know, the importance of routine, the importance of cleanliness, the kind of inner workings of how groups of dogs behave. Because I think a lot of dog trainers, if they've never been in a daycare setting, they're good with like the one-on-one or you know, 2-on-2 dogs or so. But like 25 dogs in a room where there's this many personalities, and whether or not they mesh and whatever, you know, is happening, that's kind of a different dynamic that definitely, I think, has helped me as a trainer as well. And so having worked there, I forget how long it was, but, you know, the kennel at the time, it had like an official internship program, and I never went through it. I just would stay after work and just learn how to train dogs with you, just kind of hang out.
You would just linger.
Yeah, just linger. So I ended up being there for like, 13 hours a day or something crazy like that.
Yeah, you would stay after your shift because you wanted to shadow and learn what the trainers were doing.
Yeah, and I would stay till the end of like your shift, and we would leave and close the building down, and then, you know.
You'd ask questions.
Yeah.
You were really hungry for knowledge, and you were really hungry for understanding, which was cool. And I like teaching people, so that's cool.
Yeah, you know, and that's where our relationship began. And, you know, and we worked together for a little while, and then, you know, I went to a few different kennels. I always tell people, I always make the joke that when me and Brent are talking to someone, because between us, we've had a couple of assistants that we've helped work with together. And I always love to tell them that me and Brent have two different stories that ultimately end up in the same place, because he was at one kennel for years and years at a time, and I was everywhere. And so we kind of picked up the respective skill sets that somebody in each of those positions would have. And I think that as we both got better, we both did that thing to where, even though, you know, I was here and he was here, you start to learn so much that you can start to kind of bridge that gap and meet somewhere in the middle. And, you know, knowing him has only helped me, and I'm sure vice versa. And that's where I am today. I started my business. It's been a few years now, and just working it, getting better at it still. It's a continuous process, and I think that in business, it's definitely important to note to a young person that in training, the better you get just on your own, to yourself, the better you get with your own like skill sets of speaking and understanding, where you are emotionally and stuff like that, the better you'll get in business as well. So it's that fun kind of game of push and pull.
Right. Yeah, when you have confidence in your craft, then it is easier for you to develop confidence in yourself as a business or as a trainer, as an educator. Yeah, that confidence is really, really important.
Today, it's crazy to think. I guess I never really look at it from this perspective, but I went from that to I'm running and heading up my own business. I'm working with, I live in Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm working with, Phoenix's Chamber of Commerce foundational wing, and I also work with a few different rescues, and I've got my fingers in a lot of different pots, and I'm excited, and it's nice.
I love that, man, and that's great, and I think that's a testament to an individual's passion to be able to, take their knowledge base and be able to share it with people and be able to utilize it on different platforms, and that's super important. I'll talk to people a little bit about my backstory, how I started, and then we'll go into maybe some recommendations or some stories or different ways, avenues of developing dog training skills. I was fortunate enough to work with animals from the time I was really, really young. So my uncle had a ranch with like 35 thoroughbreds. They had goats, llamas, chickens, geese, pretty much every animal that my aunt can think of, they got, and they had it at some point. And I remember from age 11 or 12 till about age 17 when I moved out of the house, I would work every summer and winter at my uncle's ranch. And some of it was tending to the animals, some of it was construction. He lived on a Christmas tree farm, which was interesting. So during the winter, it was Christmas trees and deliveries and flocking the trees, and just it was so cool. And because the ranch was kind of a bit of a petting zoo, it was a pretty cool attraction for people. So at a really, really young age, I got a lot of experience with customer service and physical labor and dealing with animals and all of those things. And a lot of times people ask me, they go, Brent, what is it that makes you so good with animals? Like you just have this gift. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, I don't have a fucking gift. Like, I worked really hard.
Right.
In retrospect, I realized I worked really hard because when I was, 12 years old, there's a freaking goat who's trying to freaking ram you with his horns. And, there's like a peacock who's trying to freaking peck at you and shit. And, one time I got kicked by a horse, and I realized, I was like, you get good with animals really quick when you know that they will try and hurt you, right? So that being good with animals, that quote unquote, talent or gift, is something that you get exposed to when you're put in that environment, right? And so like I was fully immersed in a scenario where I had to learn to be good with animals, or else I would get bit, kicked, chewed up, whatever it was, right? Obviously dogs were the closest things to us. I didn't really sleep in bed with horses or goats, but when I was a kid, my dogs would come and cuddle in bed with me, so I had a little bit more intimate relationship with them. So that's how it started, right? My passion for animals, my skill set for animals, my ability to read things that were nonverbal. But pretty much when it came to actually being a dog trainer as a profession, it started with an ignition of passion. Long story short, I was working at a shelter for 6 months. At the end of those 6 months, there was a series of events that made me want to learn to be a dog trainer and give back and help these animals. And so I literally said, fuck everything I'm doing in life. I'm going to go learn to be a freaking dog trainer. And I did. And luckily, I fell into the hands of a very wonderful mentor. His name is Bobby Durafshar. Those of you guys who know who he is, great. Those of you guys who don't know, Google search him right now. Bobby Durafshar. And he owned a company out here in LA that was my home for 10 years, where I was a animal care attendant. I was an assistant manager, then I became a manager, then I became a trainer, then I became assistant, head trainer, then I became assistant manager, trainer manager, then I became training manager, then I became, chief executive educator, or, the chief of academics pretty much, where I was teaching people how to be dog trainers. And at that time, that was kind of when I met Mariano. And so my story was, again, I was fully immersed into the world of dog training. I was thrown into it, and we'll get into recommendations later, but the only way that I developed the experience that I have, and the only way that I can do the things that I do now as a 31-year-old with my level of expertise is that immersion. I was thrown into it, and I learned with a passion, and I learned every day, and I've literally trained over 3,000 dogs in the last 10 years. And the experience that one person develops when put in a fully immersive situation, there's no way to beat it. Right? So anyways, that's my story. Back to the question. How does one get started in dog training if that's your passion and that's your goal? Mariano, what's your goal? What's your tip? What's your advice?
So my advice is find a mentor. I think I was lucky enough to find you, and I think that you were lucky enough to find Bobby. And and the cycle.
And Bobby's story is he found a mentor as well. So
right, and the cycle continues, and I'm sure that goes for any sort of craft since the beginning of time, right? So, I would say find a mentor, somebody that you vibe with, somebody who is, is comfortable. Like you and I are really good friends, and I love it. We're basically brothers, actually. I always tell people that we're brothers.
Yeah, of course.
And you and Bobby have this really close relationship too, and I think that that's a good thing. And I would say find a mentor, someone who you're close with, but someone who is not willing to tell you like it is, and someone who is willing, to tell you like it is, and someone who is willing to push you.
Right. And you also have to be able to be pushed.
Yes. Yeah. Be coachable. That's huge. I think that goes for life regardless. Be coachable. If you do something wrong, don't let that ego bubble up. And I know it's not as easy as all that, but hear these words and think about them the next time you feel like like your back is up, and relax it. You're here to learn, so do that.
Agree. So let's talk about a couple different avenues there are on how to become a dog trainer. All right. So one way, which is not the way we recommend, you could read a bunch of books,
right?
Watch a lot of YouTube videos, and you know what? Start your own business. Okay? Just like in medicine, they call it a practice because every year, every 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years, there's something new in the research. There is something new brought into the industry, and they call it a practice because you have to practice constantly to become a master at your craft. Whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, a dog trainer, it doesn't matter. Practice is called practice for a reason, right? So you could do that. Now the problem with that is there's so much knowledge out there that if you over educate yourself, you will know a little bit about a lot, which doesn't necessarily help you deal with more intense issues or more extremes in the dog training world, like a working breed, or pretty much you can't read about something that is a physical skill. You can understand it, but you will never become a professional if you just read or watch videos on it. You need to, in essence, have dogs to practice with. Now, the right thing to do, don't practice on paying clients. Don't practice and fail on paying clients if you're going to start your business right off the bat, right? If you are going to practice, ideally we want to practice with a mentor who's guiding you to make sure that the success of that animal is there, right? But don't be one of those trainers who go and decide to charge someone $70 an hour, and all they're doing is referring to their textbook that they just picked up, or referring to someone else's video online, and they're just regurgitating and interpreting what it is that they saw to help them. And if that's you, not judging you, you just need to do better at I am judging you. You need to do more research. You need to train more dogs, because this is one of the big things that I'm upset with. So many times I hear clients tell me, I've been to 2-3 trainers, and someone said that dog is not trainable. And then they bring the dog to me, and guess what? I trained the fucking dog. He's trained, still living in that home, when they were this close to getting rid of that dog. So don't call yourself a dog trainer until you've put the time, until you've put the research, until you put the man hours to actually get it done. Sorry, that was my rant. Go ahead.
That's okay.
And you, go ahead.
Yeah, he's not upset, you guys. Here,
I'm not upset.
Let me use words that you were meaning to use.
There you go.
And I'm gonna liken it to something a little different. It's
Sure.
not that you shouldn't read and watch videos, because you should, but don't only do that and don't overdo that.
Right.
Literal hands-on practice is going to push you through, and the problem is, when you watch too many videos, you suffer from analysis paralysis, and you start to get into this weird thing to where you're watching, but you're not absorbing all the little nuances. And here's a quick example if this helps somebody understand. I do jiu-jitsu, and I'm a scrub. I'm a white belt. Okay, I watch matches all the time because I like to see the little nuances that people do. It's tiny implementations to the game that you already know, and a little grip here, a little something else there. And what I notice is, I can watch one match, and one 8-minute match, I can learn from for like months, because there's that much little nuance. And it's I watch it over and over and over, actively trying to find new things every time, but I don't. My brain brings me back to the same thing every single time. I just see it more and more clearly, because I can anticipate, oh, it's coming, and it's gone. And only in practice, I get to work on it, and now that's implemented into my game. Now my brain is free to, again, find the next thing and the next thing. So what I'm saying is, learn stuff, but then make sure that your practice is on par. Yeah, and then learn stuff, and then practice. When you take these giant leaps, it just doesn't work out. I completely agree with you on the point of, don't practice new things on your clients' dogs. Don't do that. Don't regurgitate information from other people, especially if you don't even know if this is like the right stuff, or if that person just has a different communication style than you, so it doesn't sound right coming from you, but it sounds good coming from them. I agree with you.
Right. In essence, what we're trying to get at is, there's another 1 to 2 variables that we would recommend to do. But yes, I agree with you. Research, read books, understand. But, second thing you have to do, find a school of thought and find a mentor within that school of thought.
Yeah, and get in there.
Okay? And get in there. Okay? And the reason for this is, the only way that you actually learn something wholeheartedly, completely in your brain, immerse yourself into the philosophy, immerse yourself into whatever it is that's been developed, right? And understand that discipline to its entirety, right? So I don't care if you start with clickers, find a mentor for clickers if that's what you believe in. Find a mentor, if you're one of those trainers who work with police dogs, and you're attracted to that. Find a mentor who works with police dogs. Don't get a job at Petco if you're really interested in police dogs, right? So find a mentor, find a community of people that you can learn from. I honestly feel not all mentors are created equal. Every now and then we meet someone who is a master coach, who is a master trainer, who could train someone, who's who just thinks of things different, not people who are just like them. And that person is very far and few between, but usually there's 10 to 20 years of experience under that person's belt. So they're hard to find. They're diamonds in the rough for sure. But in the meantime, if you can find someone who is better at you than something, do as much as you can to learn from them, right? They don't have to be masters at business or anything, but they just need to be better. If you can see something that you desire in a person, attach yourself to them, learn from them, see if they will teach you, because guess what? As a teacher, we become better. We become better dog trainers when we learn to teach, actually, right? And that's a cool part, right? I would say the third thing to really focus on, try and find an environment that you can immerse yourself with dogs. So it doesn't matter if you work for a rescue organization. See if they'll let you donate your time to work with these dogs who need the help, right? Do your practice on dogs who could benefit from this type of work. Maybe help them get adopted, or maybe dogs in the shelter who are forgotten and left alone anyways, but work with them and test your skills against that, right? You'll be able to see how not only your efforts can benefit benefit a client in the future, but you'll see how you can help get these dogs homes. And that's something that I did in the first 6 months of me working at an animal shelter. That's one way. You can work at rescues or shelters. Another way is you can work at a kennel, right? Not all kennels are created equal, but if you can find a kennel with a training program attached to it, and you can apprentice with them or internship or volunteer your time with them, do it, right? A lot of time, especially in this day and age, people want to get paid for the time that they're spending. I hate to say it, if you want something bad enough, you go for it, right? And I think, Mariano, you're a great story for that. You weren't getting paid for the time that you were hanging around wanting to learn and absorb knowledge. You were just passionate and you freaking went for it.
In fact, I had to sign a liability waiver because I wasn't technically supposed to be there.
Yeah, you could. By law, he wasn't allowed to be there for 12 hours. So he had to sign a liability waiver just so he could be in the presence of dogs, not even working with them, right? Because at the end of the day, if a dog bit him, then the company, is messed up. So, so the idea here is, yes, fully immerse yourself. You really want to be in an environment where there is turnover, where there are different types of dogs, different breeds of dogs. That's going to be the key. So I think the big trifecta here is make sure you yourself are learning and are passionate about your craft. Read books, watch videos, try and learn from some of the greats. I think that's the important. At this day and age, people don't know who the greats are. Ian Dunbar, Michael Ellis, Barbara Woodhouse, even though some of you guys might think certain things. Cesar Millan, Cesar Millan changed the game back in the 90s. He changed the game. Read some of his stuff. Understand the philosophies that people are doing.
I'm going to throw Zach George in there too. Just get the following he has.
Yeah, Zach George.
He's huge.
Zach George is great on the positive reinforcements, like Karen Pryor. Make sure you're doing some Karen Pryor. Who else we got? There's so many.
There's my favorites. I don't know if they count as greats yet, but there's doing good things, right? Sean O'Shea.
Sean O'Shea is doing good things, yeah.
Jeff Gelman, that's a huge one.
Yep. Shout out to them.
And then there's people who aren't even dog trainers, but who I think offer insight that a dog trainer should know, like Jim Rohn. Some positive reinforcement stuff. I don't know if it was him who said it.
Tony Robbins. Yeah,
Tony Robbins, of course.
That was Tony Robbins' mentor, Jim Rohn. But yeah, I guess those types of things that help motivate you. Learn from these greats. Learn from these people who've done stuff, and it's not necessarily just in the dog training world. Think of these people on the internet who are really pushing what hard work really does, because it's so funny. Everything people are preaching when it comes to hard work and business and success, it's all the same recipe, right? It's all the same recipe, and you don't learn that until you've actually gone through it. That you're like, oh look, I followed the recipe and now I'm successful. But anyway, I don't want to get off topic. Let's go back to so educate yourself, study the greats. That's number one in dog training. That's the same in anything. Number two, find a mentor that can teach you something, right? Third, find an environment that you can fully immerse yourself and you can work with animals. This is the best way to do it, okay? Now, there are dog training academies out there. There are places you can call, sign up, pay a tuition, they learn, they teach you stuff. Those can be very, very helpful as well as far as developing a strong knowledge base, understanding the industry. But I'm one of those people who will 100% advocate. If you want to learn the dog business, you have to be in the dog business, right? Now, a lot of these programs, they will say, go ahead and do an apprenticeship at so-and-so, or there's this mentor trainer that you can help them run their small business. But here's the reality. If you want to learn to run a big business, be part of a bigger kennel. If you ever want to learn to work with a high volume of dogs, be with a kennel that has a high volume of dogs. Be with a kennel that has a grooming department so you can learn what training techniques to work on with grooming. Be in a place where that has a daycare so you can learn how to control, as Mariano was saying earlier, how to control a group of 20, 25 dogs, 30 dogs, how to read body language. All these things is boarding. All these things is it all comes together to give you this fully immersive experience. Kind of like when I was a kid and I was fully immersed in these farm animals and these ranch animals, the horses, the goats, the pigs, the llamas, the geese, you name it. You learn to adapt. You learn to change your senses to be able to see what the common person cannot see. And this ultimately is what makes you a professional and an expert in your field. The fact that you have more knowledge, more insight, your brain now is wired to see the things that others cannot. This is what helps build that confidence that is going to make you the best dog trainer you can be.
Right.
That's my opinion.
Yeah, agreed. And the final tip to add to that would be tip number 4, don't be afraid to suck at something.
100%. Yes. Thank you so much for saying that. That needs to be said.
Yeah, you're going to suck.
Because you will always suck.
Yep. Before you get good. Yeah.
Always. The reason for having that mentor, they'll tell you suck, but then they'll teach you how to get better.
Yeah, and they'll tell you it's okay to suck. And why shouldn't you? Anything good should come with a sort of proving ground. So yeah, you're gonna suck, man. It's fine. Just suck in a way that's minimally consequential to the dogs you're working with, and that's why you have mentors, to start you easy and to make sure that you're not biting off more than you can chew.
100%.
Yeah.
Awesome, guys. Well, we really hope that this podcast was helpful for you. If you guys have any more questions, please just reach out to us, email us. We'll put our emails down below. Reach out to us individually, and we'd be happy to talk about any subject that you guys are curious about. We've been in the game now I've been in the game now for 12 years. He's been in the game now for about 7. Has it been 7? Has it been more?
About
7.
Closer to 8, yeah.
Closer to 8 now. So we're happy to share this knowledge with you guys. We want you guys to grow. And most importantly, we want to help develop better dog trainers. There needs to be better dog trainers out there because the dogs are literally counting on us, right? If we don't become better as a community, if we can't learn to come together as dog trainers, then unfortunately the only people who suffer are dogs. People who suffer. The only thing that suffers are dogs. Right? Dogs are people too. So anyways, we really hope that you guys like this podcast. Any final notes you want to say, Mariano?
No, man, I think this was good. I think we covered it. Just, if you can, just reiterate the 4.
All right, so the first 4, and actually I'm going to change the order up a little bit for you.
Okay.
Number 1, immerse yourself in knowledge. So books, videos, podcasts like this one. That's number 1. Get to understand the perspective. Now, there might be a lot of question marks in your head. You may not know how to connect the dots yet. But number 1, collect all the dots. Collect them, okay? Number 2, find a mentor, okay? Now, that mentor could be number 3. But number 2, find an environment that allows you to be around animals. Be it a rescue, a shelter, a dog kennel, dog walking, just immerse yourself around animals. Create that for yourself. Make that your environment where you're around animals all the time. Okay. Number 3, seek out a mentor. This could be a master coach, a master trainer. This could just be someone who's been doing it longer than you, who you see skills in them that you want to emulate or mirror. Find them and be coachable. That's so important. Don't take things personal, because guess what? People have worked really, really hard to get to where they need to be. And number 4, don't be afraid to suck. You can suck But guess what? As long as you love what you do and you're passionate about it and you focus on mastering the skills, you will get so freaking good before you freaking know it. I've probably trained over 20 people to be dog trainers over the last 12 years, and they all have their own businesses and they're all successful and everything. And wow, it is crazy that when you put your head down and just go and train, how your skill set just grows, right? So I just want to motivate you guys to, if this is really your passion, if this is the industry you want to be in, this is what we recommend.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks, man. All right, guys. Check out our next episode of our podcast and keep those questions coming in. We'll put the emails right down here. All right? You guys take care. Bye-bye.
See you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Dog Trainers Podcast, a podcast created by dog trainers, for dog trainers, or anyone who's ever fallen in love with man's best friend.